What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of BASEHITBALL4. My name is Glenn Denegers alongside Alex Cashman, Scott Roswald, and Tyler Blumenstick. Getting towards the end of April, about teams give or take around 15 to 20 games at this point. There's been a lot of things going on since we last talked. We got a couple no hitters. One of them was almost a perfect game, but a hit by pitch. We had a lot of cancellations, whether it be rain, snow, or COVID. Um, Dodgers Padres with an absolutely electric, probably the most epic April series I can remember. But we will begin with the bad news. And the bad news is how bad the Yankees have been in their first 2 weeks of the season, starting 5-10. You name it, it's going wrong for the Yankees, whether it be pitching, hitting, defense, managing, front office, roster constructions, go down the roster. Every player has been terrible. Offensively, they don't have a three hitter, or they don't. Well, they put guys that are unusually be in the three hole, and the three hole doesn't really make any sense. Their stars aren't hitting home runs, and that's what the Yankees are built on. So we'll just jump right into what could possibly be wrong for the New York Yankees and what they can do to right the ship. I've been trying to figure this out all year so far. Like, what's going on with this team that in the last full season won 103 games. The year before that, won 100. You kind of throw out 2020, but really you can't anymore, because if you add the 60 games to the 15 games we just played, that's 75 games of around 500 baseball. So at what point is it not a slow start? And this is a very worrisome kind of inclination of what this team has become over the last year and a half.
I'd love to start if I may.
I saw you chomping at the bit to go, so stage is
I'm going to
yours.
say, I'm going to be calm. I got nothing. I'm not going to get excited. Here's my thing. I feel like the Yankees went with Aaron Boone, and I've made it very clear that I didn't like that pick, and that's okay. I don't have to. I don't make the decisions, and I've been wrong before, and I hope I'm wrong again. And it's been brought to my attention, not to my attention, but it's been brought up in this podcast alone, that how can you be mad at Aaron Boone? The Yankees won 100 games in back-to-back years, this, that, and the other thing. Let me say something. If the goal is to win 100 games and not win a World Series, then Aaron Boone has done a phenomenal job. Because the regular season is won by the front office, in my opinion. You're going to get guys that perform well over a course of 162 games. But the postseason, and so far this season and all of last season, was lost by not only the guys in the field, because you can't take the blame away from them, but as well as the guy in the dugout and the hitting coach, Marcus Timms, who's obviously done nothing this year. I mean, Tyler and I were talking about it the other day. It might have been in the group chat. Truthfully, I don't remember. But Tyler made a very good point about, what the Yankees hitters were or were not doing. And I said, Tyler, if you can figure this out, why can't Marcus Timms? We did have that conversation, right? I didn't dream that?
We did.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So my point is that the Yankees put a roster together that they feel they could win with. And Brian Cashman either needs to say, all right, this is on Boone or this is on me. Somebody's got to take full responsibility. And we're 15 games into the season. It's not like the Yankees could very well still win the division and win the World Series. That's not my point. My point is that whatever they're doing now is no bueno. And I got to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I feel like you guys hit the nail on the head, especially Glenn in the beginning when said the superstars aren't hitting home runs. It's the truth. I feel like every time I look up, it's Kyle Higashioka, it's Gio Urshela. I don't know. Yankees have, let's check this. What is it? 16 home runs this year. For a team that is supposed to mash the ball out of the ballpark, that's about one a game. I don't know if that's going to get it done. It's just frustrating, really. It's kind of what we said. I think it was the last episode. The Yankees just are struggling, and that's pretty much it. I can't really go on any longer. I just want them to win, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the offense. I mean, we can talk about the starting pitching, and we can talk about Kluber and Tyone and Herman pitched 1 inning last year combined. You can talk about, other than Garrett Cole, they haven't been able to address the rotation. You can talk about the Nick Nelson and the Michael Kings, how they always seem to fuck with pitchers, their young pitchers specifically. And this isn't just a Boone thing with the pitchers. This has been what the Yankees have been doing for the last 15 years, right? So Nick Nelson, Davy Garcia, Herman, they pitch, they struggle a little bit, then they send them down, and then they bring them back and they're in the pen. This happened with Girardi, with Severino originally in his first 3 years in the big leagues. He pitched in 2015, struggled in 2016, sent him down, brought him to the pen. It worked out in 2017 when he was top 3 in the Cy Young. But you always continue to fuck with these guys, and then go back to the previous regime with Joe Torre. This is what they do with Jabba Chamberlain, and they do with Phil Hughes. They pitch, they start, they relieve, they get sent down. It's just a big circle. So it's impossible for the Yankees, the way they do it, to develop pitching, because the Yankees are in a win now situation as we lost Cash for whatever reason. So the Yankees have been in a win now scenario for the last 15 to 20 years. So they don't have time to wait out these starting pitchers, right? So like the Hugheses and the Jabas and the Severinos, because they need them to be good now. That's why they made the trade for Paxton in 2019 for Justice Sheffield, because they were saying, let's get Paxton now because we don't have time to wait for Justice Sheffield to turn into James Paxton, because we need to win this year. It didn't work out because Paxton always got hurt, and then he ended up going back to Seattle where he got hurt again. So that's the first issue with the Yankees, is that they just can't develop starting pitching. They've never been able to, ever since Cashman's taken over the GM in 1998. Now, in terms of the offense, this is just the way that they structure their lineup, and they've always had. It's either home run or it's nothing. And you can make the argument that that's how every team is constructed now. Like the Rays, the Dodgers, the Padres hit a lot of home runs. Back when the Red Sox were really good in 2018, they always hit home runs. The Phillies, I've watched a lot of Phillies games. They hit a lot of home runs. That's how Major League Baseball is right now. When you have to hit home runs to win. Nobody on the Yankees is hitting home runs right now. Everybody is cold. You go down the order. You go from LeMahieu's not even being LeMahieu. Judge isn't hitting home runs. Gardner and Hicks in the 3-hole. They aren't home run hitters. You go to Stanton, who strikes out every single time. Glaber's gone off to a slow start. Gio is really the only guy that's hitting. So eventually, Scott, when you look at the back of the baseball card for these players, you would assume that eventually they're going to hit, and they're not going to have these cold streaks over the course of the next 6 months. But I think the Yankee fan base is more annoyed over this April stretch, because this is not what we see only this April, but this seems to be what the Yankees look like in October. And this is just a common reoccurrence of that home run or nothing mentality. And if they can't hit home runs, if this roster can't hit home runs off of, a washed up Rich Hill, a washed up Chris Archer, a washed up Michael Wacha, a 40-year-old Charlie Morton, whoever the Blue Jays throw out other than Hinji and Ryu, if they can't hit home runs off these guys, how are they going to hit home runs off of the Bowers, off of the Snells, off of the Verlander's not coming back, but the top starters in the American League and National League when you reach the playoffs? That's where the major hole for this organization has been for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely just like a carryover effect. It's been building up for last 3-4 years, the frustration. So that's why, this 5-10 stretch to start out the year, is so frustrating for you guys. You're right. Most of these guys, LeMahieu, Judge, Gio, Glaber, like those guys are going to go back towards the mean, what they're used to. This isn't going to be a full year thing. It's a long season, but I understand the frustration. From an outsider's point of view, when I watch the Yankees, I watch a team that isn't having fun. Like, for them, baseball is their job, and it's like pressure, and they're not enjoying it, versus the Padres and the Dodgers, you mentioned, just had an incredible series. Those guys were having fun. The Red Sox are the best team in the American League right now, along with the Seattle Mariners, two teams that had zero expectations, and they just look like they're having fun. The Red Sox hit a home run. They come back in the dugout. They jump in a shopping cart, and they push them down the dugout aisle, and are like jumping up and down and cheering. Like, you don't see the Yankees doing that. Like, Aaron Judge hits a home run, he comes in, he shakes the manager's hand, and he sits down and grabs his glove and goes and plays defense. Like, I never see the Yankees having fun. And maybe there's just so much expectation and pressure within that organization to win that they feel like they can't. But I feel like they just got to loosen up and play baseball and be kids. And
The hard thing
enjoy
about that is when you're not hitting and the media is the way the media is in New York and the
Yes.
fans are the way the fans are in New York, it's very hard to loosen up. You can just say, oh, yeah, loosen up, have fun, play baseball. It's much more difficult to do that, in my opinion, as a Yankee than it is anywhere else in baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like
It's pressure from everywhere.
the difference there is like the way you handle it once the pressure comes from the media, I guess. Because it's true, in New York, there's a lot more pressure to succeed. But we saw it the other day. I forget what it was or who said it. It might have been Clint, where he was like, Aaron Boone like snapped out of it. He kind of gave us this huge big talk. Fine, that's great. But when tensions are already like probably at an all-time high, at least from what I've seen, like as far as just playing scared, I guess that's just the only way I can describe it. The answer should be kind of like a thumbs down, Todd Frazier kind of thing, or something to break you out, like the shopping cart with the Red Sox. Not like, oh, like, yeah, he really got to us. And then they're still serious and they're in their own heads and they're not playing baseball. You just got to loosen up and play. It's all business. There can be a middle ground that you got to find. And I think that's pretty much just it.
Yeah, that's something that reminds me of that 2009 team. The Yankees from 2005 to 2008, they were coming off of that collapse to the Red Sox in 04, right?
Mhm.
05, 06, 07, they lose in the first round. 08, they don't even make the playoffs. So the 09, they started having more fun, right? Jeter, Posada, those older guys, they started to open up a little bit more. They brought in guys like Nick Swisher. They brought in guys like AJ Burnett, guys that like to have fun. Cano turned into his own at that point. Those guys loosened up the clubhouse. Over the course of, the recent generation, they had Todd Frazier, right? They had guys like Andrew McCutchen for a short period of time. 2019, that Aaron Boone freak out he had with the Savages in the box, that kind of was a rallying cry. This team doesn't have that. I watch every game. I have 4 games on my monitor at once at work, and I see all these different teams. I have the Yankees on. I normally have the Phillies and the Mets, and then another team on. All those teams, they have fun. They're smiling, right? The Mets have more fun than anyone I've noticed of this short season. They're always smiling. A lot of that with Frankie Lindor. The Yankees don't have that, and they don't really have that leader that's going to take that initiative to be fun. Like, I don't think Judge is that kind of personality to, loosen up the clubhouse.
See, I
Gardner,
don't agree with that.
he's not kind of that guy. Like, I don't see like the big fun guy, the class clown that's gonna ease tension when tension needs to be eased.
We've seen Aaron Judge be that guy though, but off camera and when he thinks he's not being filmed and stuff like that, and loosening up and joking around where it's just kind of like a candid shot. He can be that guy, and I bet he is that guy in the clubhouse, but I don't understand why it's not coming to the public light kind of as like, hey, Aaron Judge is really that guy. You know what I mean?
Let me say something. First of all, I apologize. My computer just broke. Second of all, Glenn, to your point, the Yankees have never been that way. They were that way in 2009 with Swisher, and then a little bit with Frazier, like you mentioned. But like, they're always, they're looked at as the serious organization. They're not looked at as the fun organization. They're, I'm around a lot of professional baseball players, and a lot of guys have told me they would love to play with the Yankees, without a doubt. They want to win. It's a winning tradition. It's a winning organization. But a lot of guys have also told me that they don't want to play for the Yankees because it's not fun. The Yankees don't necessarily let you be yourself. And obviously it's worked for them. They won 27 World Series. So in the past, it's worked for them. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't find that to be an issue. I think it's an issue now because they're losing, but we never complained about them being the serious organization when they were winning. But it's now been a long time since the Yankees were a World Series winner. and it's been too long. They've had rosters that should have won, and this is a roster that should be in first place right now. And we talked about it a little bit in the preseason. This was a roster that probably should have ran away with this division. And they haven't so far. Obviously, it's 15 games in. You know, they could win 30 straight games, and we would really look like idiots. But
Not really.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how you start; it matters how you finish.
That's fair.
Obviously, you don't want to, start like this. You know, it's not ideal. But the truth is, it doesn't matter now. You know, it's a very long season, and everyone, including myself, is probably jumping the gun a little bit. However, they don't look like they really want to be there. They don't look like they want to be playing. And Michael Kay made a comment about it today, earlier on. He said that, you could say the Yankees don't look like they want to be there, and that's fine. But in reality, they're trying as hard as they can, you'd have to assume, and the baseball is just not finding any grass right now. And they're just not making contact. I mean, and that's the big problem, is the strikeouts. I mean, if you put the ball in play, eventually you're going to find a hole here and there. But when you strike out, it's nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah, you don't give yourself a chance if you're just striking out.
I think in terms of their hitting approach, like I watch these games, there's a lot of pitches right down the middle that they just let go. Like I think their organization philosophy from a hitting standpoint is to work the count, get the pitcher's pitch count up, get them out by the fifth inning. Problem with that is that worked 10, 12 years ago because the bullpens weren't as good as the starters. Now, in many cases, the bullpen is much more dangerous and harder to hit than the starter. So there's no reason that you should be like your philosophy as a hitter going into a certain game, let's say with Michael Wacha pitching, is to, oh my God, we got to get Michael Wacha out of this game to get to Tampa's bullpen. That's not what you should be worried about. You should be jumping on the best pitch. And sometimes that's the first pitch to the at bat. Like, I know everyone likes to say how like Judge is always in a 3-2 count and how great that is, but like, is it great all the time when 0-1, 0-2 are right down the middle, and then he has to fight to get it to 3-2, and then you're exhausted by that 3-2 pitch? Like, I just think the whole philosophy is flawed. I think it worked 10, 15 years ago. I don't think it works now. And I don't think the Yankees are adjusting to the times.
Yeah, I'd agree. The Phillies kind of had that same issue. They like to take pitches. Rhys Hoskins is very much like that. He likes to work the count, and it gets him in a hole a lot of the time. And I think the best way to get a pitcher out of the game is to be aggressive and score runs, not make him throw pitches and work up his pitch count. Like, great, he threw 85 pitches. That's like, you're more likely to get a guy out by putting the ball in play, putting pressure on there, making things happen that way. I don't know. I agree, Glenn. Teams need to be more aggressive and go after it. Get your pitch. Get on base that way. So be more aggressive, Yankees, is what I'm trying to say.
As we were talking about that, I look over at my TV, and Giancarlo absolutely swings out of his shoes on a curveball, maybe about 6 inches off the plate.
Well, he's a lost cause. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do this anymore with him. Like, it's a slider down and away every time. And I've seen toddlers with better hitting mechanics and had better swing than him. It's terrible. I don't care what he did in the playoffs. I really don't. And he takes right down the middle for strike 3.
The Braves are doing this weird sign thing. I mean, maybe it's not a weird sign thing. It definitely makes sense to them. It's weird to me because it's not really conventional. But like, I called out before, I think it was before we started recording, and Judge was up last time around, and catcher flashes down too. I think it's Darno. And then he like takes his finger and he starts like swirling it like that. And I'm like thinking, all right, curveball in the dirt. And it's like this little 94-mile-an-hour sinker action. Dotted, it got Judge, well, he fouled it off and just got Stanton staring at it. So I don't know, just a little tidbit there.
Let's talk about the real quick. Let's talk about the lineup changes they made, because they were running with Hicks forever. They would never set him down. The opposite could be said about Clint Frazier, where 2 bad games and he was out. They told him all winter that he was the starting left fielder. They told him in spring training he was the starting left fielder. He started opening day, and then after a rough first series, Brett Gardner's right back in there. That has to be crushing to his confidence. Like, are they ruining Clint Frazier now?
I don't think it's crushing his confidence. because I think Clint Frazier's one of those guys that has a bigger ego than average. I think he's more frustrated with the Yankees. I don't think he's necessarily turning it on himself, saying like, am I not good enough? I think he knows that he's good enough. He just needs his shot. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's really getting to him much. He's probably pissed off though, for sure.
Yeah, it's just hard for a guy like that to get into a rhythm if
Nah,
you're just gonna
it
be
doesn't make sense to me why
We had a little interruption.
you lagging there, Glenn?
Go for it.
yeah.
Somebody go.
It's the short leash that bothered me. I don't know why it was so short. Like, and then Hicks isn't. I don't know what the fascination with it is with Aaron Hicks, but something needs to be done. They brought up Mike Ford because Jay Bruce retired because that experiment was a complete disaster. And we're gonna see what happens there. They put in Mike Talkman. He's gonna be the new left fielder for now. We'll see. They need some sort of spark. I don't think there's a prospect coming that's gonna save them. The guys in the clubhouse now is who's going to turn this around. There's no savior. Like in 2005, Robinson Cano came. 2009, A-Rod came back.
Could there be a savior?
I don't know if Luke's Voigt is going to change this whole thing. I just don't think so.
Why is Luke Voigt hated on so much?
No, I'm not hating on him. I don't think he's going to turn around the lineup.
Chill. First of all, chill. Second of all, I don't mean by you. Third of all, I mean by the general public. The Yankee fans all over the place want Brian Cashman to trade Luke Voigt. For whatever reason, I don't know. He had a phenomenal year last year on pretty much one foot. He is a great clubhouse guy. He's beloved by that front office, by the clubhouse, by the guys on the team. There's no reason why Luke Voigt can't come in and start mashing baseballs and change the look of the lineup, because that's your number 3 hitter right there. That's the 3 hitter you want. Not Aaron Hicks or Brett Gardner. That's the 3 guy. And the other thing is Gleyber Torres needs to figure it out. You want to be a big league shortstop, make a fucking throw.
That came out of left field.
I don't think that
got me
many people
riled
are
up.
calling for Luke Voigt to be shipped out of town.
I've seen it all over Twitter.
I don't know. I feel like the people that should have a voice on Twitter aren't voicing that.
Listen, whatever. Nevertheless, I'm not saying like analysts or whatever. I'm saying that Yankee fans, Yankee Twitter, says, his trade value's high, trade him. For what?
I mean, I feel like that's just a common standard. Same thing with Gio. I feel like I might have said that at some point, but like only if you have a viable replacement, like bringing in a guy like Anthony Rizzo or somebody established that you're going to get production out of, not, hey, bring Mike Ford in there and trade Luke Voigt just for shits.
Yeah, if Anthony Rizzo is that guy, then obviously it is going to be Luke Voigt that's getting traded. Like, you're not going to sit Luke Voigt on the bench. Like, there's going to be an odd man out at a certain point.
Regardless, I think he changes the look of that lineup, and I think he changes the attitude of that lineup. Luke Voigt's a big home run guy, but he's not as big of a strikeout guy, if I'm remembering correctly, than Judge or Stanton or even Gleyber for that matter. So I don't know. I think that he makes the lineup look a lot different.
I agree with you there on the attitude point for sure. It's just like it's a confident kind of cocky attitude. It's like a swagger to that lineup that Luke Voigt brings because he can pound the ball in the gap. He can pound the ball over the wall. He'll smack his little chopper singles in between short and third. He'll get on base and he'll amp everybody up.
The other thing is, he hasn't played up to this point, so he hasn't struggled. So when that first time he gets into the box, he's coming in with a clear mind. He's saying, hey, my season starts now, right? And maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need someone to come out of left field, no pun intended, and to just start fresh and bring that swagger that the Yankees just do not have coming out of spring training. And for whatever reason, it's been horrendous. But I do think that you have to, and Tyler, I know you tweeted this the other night. I think you do have to start looking at Brian Cashman and say, what's going on?
I said it in the offseason too. I think we were all in agreement also that like, if
there's
this
a lot
isn't
of
a good
questionable
year, he's
decisions. I'm not sure I believe in that anymore.
I don't know if he's actually gone, but should be.
I think there's been a lot of questionable decisions. And I've made it very clear that I don't think they should have let Didi walk, and I stand by that. He should still be the shortstop, but okay, he's gone. What do you have something to rebuttal against?
I'm watching the Yankee game.
I don't think that they should have let Tanaka walk. I I don't think that Betances should have walked. I mean, I guess that one kind of panned out because he kind of lost it. But there have been guys where he kind of just let go away.
The
Now,
difference there, though,
and-
we don't have DJ LeMahieu, which has been the one mainstay that you can count on in this Yankee lineup. That money's not there if you have Didi, you have Betances on your payroll. I feel like that's it. Even Didi, like, really stops you from going after anybody else.
I don't know. Is Didi making that much money?
Got $28 million for 2 years.
So $14 million a year.
Yeah, but what did DJ get? 22?
So you can't add that to that?
You can.
Listen, I don't know.
They're
Whatever.
already up there and clearly reluctant to
here-
spend for some reason.
All right, here is my question, and I would love an answer from you guys. Why did you let Tanaka walk, but instead bring in two pitchers who have not pitched in 2 years? That's my question. You're in win now mode. You bring in Corey Kluber, who looked great 2 years ago, but didn't pitch last year. And you look at Tyone, who really is on the up and up, but he hasn't pitched in 2 years. Tanaka, yeah, he struggled a little bit. He had a little bit of an elbow issue, but he showed you what he could do, and he pitched, and he was healthy. He pitched through injury, and he pitched phenomenally, very well in the playoffs. And he's shown you time and time again that he can perform in October, and you let him walk. And he wasn't asking for a lot of money. Could somebody explain that? Because
No, you're right. You're right.
I don't get it.
They signed
And-
Kluber for $14 million. Tanaka went back to Japan for $8 million.
And I'm at fault by saying, yes, I think that Tyone
See-
and Kluber signing was great at the time. In hindsight, obviously, they could still turn it around. We're 15 games in. I'm just saying, looking at it right now, Brian Cashman has made incredibly tough decisions, questionable decisions that I think that can't go unnoticed, but they will.
Yeah, I think the Tanaka not bringing him back is huge, and I think it's really showing. If Kluber and Tyone were your 3 and 4 or your 4 and 5 instead of your 2 and 3, yeah, that's fine. But Cash hit it right on the head. They both haven't pitched significantly since 2018, 2019. And then, I mean, Herman came up and he pitched one game and then was sent down. Another guy who hasn't pitched in a while. Like, they're asking a lot from guys that haven't pitched a lot. And the Phillies tried that last year and it bit them in the ass. And they went out and they spent this year and it kind of bit them in the ass again. But like, you got to have people that you can trust and rely on that, in shape, ready to go. And just Kluber and Tyone aren't there yet. They might get there, but they're not.
The bottom line, and I've harped on it, the bottom line is the analytics. The analytics tell Brian Cashman and the Yankees that Kluber's your guy or that Tyone's your guy. But at the end of the day, analytics does not take into account the fact that humans play the sport and not robots. And that's a huge issue. And that's another reason as to why, last week LeMahieu was out of the lineup on a must-win day and Stanton was out of the lineup. And you could say all you want about Stan, but he leads the team in RBIs. LeMahieu's your best hitter far and away, and they're both out of the lineup on the same day. Is Boone trying to lose that game? I truly don't understand it.
Especially the game they took off, they had a day off. They had a built-in off day the next day anyway.
Right. And obviously, let me preface this. He's not trying to lose. I know that. However, it does not make any sense. And Glenn was right. There's an off day the next day. And the argument is, Boone likes to give his guys 2 days off. That's absolutely absurd. Okay. And I get it. They're humans. They need off days. I understand, but yeah, hey, we're 10 games into the year. What do we need an off day for? What do we need 2 in a row for?
No, it fucks up your timing if you're off 2 days.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's there's no denying and there's no argument. This has just been a horrendous stretch. It's been a horrendous start to the year, and they're tied at one in the 7th inning against the Braves. Braves are starting to threaten in the 7th inning, so who knows how this game is going to end? But it needs to get better. And if it doesn't get better, then, somebody's going to need to pay the price. And it's not going to be Boone. I don't think it'll be Cashman either. I don't know if it's Marcus Timms. I don't know if it's Matt Blake, but I
feel like if history repeats itself, the first firings we're going to see are going to be those hitting coaches and pitching coaches. I don't know if it's going to be Matt Blake, per se, because I feel like there's less of an expectation on the rotation than on the lineup. And the guys in the lineup should be able to hit on their own without the assistance of a hitting coach. Like, it's not like yes, I've never been at the big league level. I don't know the true impact of a hitting coach at that level, but I got to imagine it is pretty big in terms of preparation. But in terms of the mechanics of a swing, maybe they'll be able to tweak something. But these guys know how to hit. But the Yankees have kind of had a trend of being little cop-outs and have those little coaches get fired instead of the big names mid-season. And also, if you're going to go out with a guy like Boone, who are you bringing in with a team that has the talent to compete?
That's why I don't think that he is getting fired, because who are you going to bring in?
I don't think he'll be the guy. I think it's going to be a guy like Marcus Timms that you can replace, like, very easily.
Let's put this on the shelf for a little bit because it's exhausting to talk about. First and second one out for the Braves. Let's talk about some good baseball. Some good baseball out west on the West Coast in California. Dodgers, Padres. So the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 against the Padres in San Diego. The first game was that, crazy marathon 12-inning game that took forever. They put the runner on second base. It didn't help in terms of time of game because it still went well into the night, like 3 a.m. on the East Coast. The second game obviously was the Mookie game with that catch, and then the Padres, rally in the third game to avoid the sweep. This is what baseball needs. Like, this is the old Yankees, Red Sox of the mid 2000s. Just teams that do not like each other at all. Both teams that are star-studded, have a ton of stars on offensively and on their staffs, and I know the Padres haven't taken off yet like the Dodgers have. The Dodgers are 14-2 at this point. I think they lost yesterday against the Mariners. They're already 10 plus games over 500. This is what baseball needs. It's a shame that people on the East Coast have to wait until 10 o'clock, and for the majority of the East Coast, because they work, they can't finish the games. But I don't know how much of the series you guys watched. Wildly entertaining, even with the limited capacity. Felt like a packed house. Felt like October. This is the baseball that the Yankees should be playing against the Rays. I just can't say more about how genuinely entertained I was about those two fantastic teams going at it.
Yeah, great baseball. That first game, that was the game I watched the most. Just a bench clearing at late in the game. As you mentioned, two teams that don't like each other. The Padres seem to dislike the Dodgers more than the Dodgers dislike the Padres at this point. But you know what? That's fine. Like, let the little brother kind of poke at big brother and kind of slowly piss him off throughout the year. So we get something in the postseason. Tatis came back for the Padres. Hopefully he's going to be okay and he can play throughout the year. I'm kind of concerned that he's going to get hurt again. Yeah, like this is what baseball needs and needs all the time, is just exciting games like that, and players like Mookie Betts making the plays that he makes. Those diving catches are incredible. If he misses that ball, it's a completely different game and outcome. And we're talking about the Padres probably taking 2 out of 3. Yeah, there's two teams, like, if I could watch them every single night, I would, because that's how good both teams are.
It's fun. I've been falling asleep a lot. I really wish I could stay up and watch, because I used to do it. I used to like 3-box, 4-box West Coast games, but they're good. And a point about the Dodgers, they're doing this without Cody Bellinger. And that just shows like how deep that team is. Zach McKinstry stepping up and being a big part of that lineup. It's just a new guy every single day. And I don't want to just harp on the Yankee stuff again, but you tie it back and you look at a team that is in the beginning of every single season ranked 1-2 with the Dodgers, 1-2-3, maybe with another team in there. But like, the Yankees don't get those step-up contributions consistently like the Dodgers do. They just have a pipeline for guys that play baseball. That's it. Like, same thing with the Padres. Like, Trent Grisham, like, whoever heard of Trent Grisham until he bursted onto the scene? Like, these guys just come up and play, and they're having fun. And I feel like that's what breeds those young baseball players and gets them in the mood to play and perform in front of the fans. And it's, I don't know. It's the West Coast too. It's fun to be out there. It's warm. It's nice weather. There's no pressure. stress is off, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you mentioned McKinstry, guy's a 33rd round draft pick, and I think he's still leading the team. Justin Turner's taken over the lead for RBIs by 1, but the kid's phenomenal and he plays all over the place for them. Yeah, the Dodgers just they don't have to ever. I mean, obviously they're not rebuilding, but like somebody goes out, like there's just somebody there who's gonna do that job is just as well, and they're like they don't even bat an eye. Like Bellinger's gonna be out for a while with this broken leg, and like they're gonna miss him obviously, but like they have the pieces in place to be fine. And obviously they're 13-4 and clearly the best team in baseball. No questions asked.
Yeah, and they can afford to lose guys like Bellinger. And, if they lose Seager to free agency next offseason, they're not going to miss a beat. It's just amazing that they can continue to, throw out talent. The Gavin Luxes, the Will Smiths, the McKinstries.
Is it
right?
amazing, or is that what happens when you spend money?
Kike Hernandez. Well, they developed these guys.
These are development guys.
Well, but then they also went and got Mookie, and they went and
they
got,
do that no problem as well. They also, spend as much as they want.
Right.
So, they're the gold standard of baseball right now. Obviously, they won the World Series last year, but they continue to be.
And they will be for a long time.
Yeah. And then you got teams like the Padres now who are trying to challenge them. Now, is their talent level at the point of the Dodgers? Probably not this year. But, they're a formidable opponent. Like, you watch those games and you think about 6 months from now, if they see each other in a best of 5, best of 7, it's not a shoo-in that the Dodgers win because the Padres are still very good.
Yeah, especially with the way that Joe Musgrove has come over and pitched for them. Obviously had the no-hitter against Texas, and then last night struck out 13 batters. Like, we didn't talk about Joe Musgrove over the offseason. It was, they got Blake Snell, they got Yu Darvish to go along with with Chris Paddock and Clevenger when he comes back. Joe Musgrove was the afterthought of their offseason, and he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Anybody, like across the entire league, he's been phenomenal. And if he continues to go like that, yeah, pitching wise, Cash said that the Padres had the better pitching staff, and he might not be wrong at this point if Musgrove is going to pitch the way that he has.
Anything on the Padres, guys?
They're just fun. I feel like that's really all you can say about them. They're good at baseball. They're fun, and they have guys that step up and guys that you've never heard of. And they also have guys that you now have heard of because they used to be guys you never heard of and they played baseball. Now they're good.
Oh, they go up to the plate not trying to hit a home run every pitch, and they string together at bats, and it works for them. And at the end of the day, it's a team sport. You got 9 guys in the lineup. If it wasn't a team sport, the Angels would be the best team in the league every year because they got the best player every year. But it's a team sport, and you need 9 guys. And you're not going to hit a home run every time you're up. So you need to string together some at bats, and that's why the Padres and why the Dodgers and why the Blue Jays have played well, or the Astros continue to win, which really pisses me off because they cheat. But
I think they're on a big losing streak, actually.
Probably because I said that, but
they're actually in last place in the division right now.
Well, they were
started that
winning.
hot. I think they started 7-1.
We could throw it back to that argument we had. What was more likely, Houston to success or Oakland to kind of turn it around? And Glenn hit the nail on the head, I believe, and said Oakland was going to turn it
Oakland's
around.
won 8 straight after starting 1-7. Oakland's won 8 straight to go to 9-7. After starting 7-2, 7-3, Houston's now 7-8. So
Yeah.
that just goes to show how quickly things can change. And if the Yankees, go, everything eventually goes back to the Yankees in the show. If the Yankees can just, win a couple series, like they have Atlanta now, if they can squeak out 1 of 2 against Atlanta, they have Cleveland, and then they play Detroit and Baltimore. So if you take care of who you should on the schedule, you should be fine. The problem is the Yankees aren't taking care of anyone. Let's do our favorite segment of the show. That's the State of the Phillies address with Scott Roswald. I watch a lot of Phillies games. I work a lot of Phillies games. One game looked very good. one game look not so good, and that's the definition of mediocre. And their record right now dictates that they're mediocre at 8-8. So, Scott, personally, when I watch the Phillies, there's sometimes I watch them, I'm like, this team should win the division, and there's other times where I'm like, this team's still a year or two away. So, Harper, he's doing what Harper needs to do. Had 3 hits yesterday. Nola was great, had a shutout. But those individual performances kind of get drowned out so far about some mediocre play in the middle, especially from the center field position.
Whew. Glenn, you hit it right on the head. They are the definition of mediocre. I really don't know what to say sometimes. Like last night they lost 2-0 and it was just excruciating.
Well, they lost because Gene Segura decided to make a whole spectacle of his 200th double.
One of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. My dad and I were just befuddled and so confused at what was happening. I looked it up, 200 career doubles. Still keeps him outside of the top 1,000 of all time in career doubles.
Tyler, Cash, did you see this? Do you guys know what we're talking about? So he hit the double.
Were talking about it in the chat.
And like, you know how when Jeter would get a milestone hit, he'd get a standing ovation, time would be called, he'd lift his helmet and wave it around. Like that's what Segura did for his 200th double, which tied him for 1,115th all time in doubles.
And he got hurt today.
Silly.
And he did get hurt today, which he was on fire.
Might be his last double of the year.
Like it was just, it's the Phillies are just a weird team.
Now Matt Moore that project is over.
I bet against him every time. It makes me so happy.
Friend of the show, Ryan Waldish, WMCX alum. He said that Matt Moore would be the Cy Young.
Okay.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yeah. So he's not all up there, but they brought him on just to see if there was anything left because he had good days in Tampa, and it hasn't worked out, and now you guys have to recalibrate.
He looked good in spring too, which is more frustrating. They got to go find somebody there, but it all comes down to center field spot.
Mm-hmm.
Going in today, they were combined. 3 guys were combined 3 for 49 for a 0.61 batting average, which is horrific.
It's hard to do. You almost have to try to do that.
Hadn't gotten a hit since April 9th until tonight. Mickey Moniak did get a single, so they broke that little streak. But yeah, they got to go find a center fielder because you know what? That's one of the most important positions in the game.
Is there a center fielder out there to get?
Aaron Hicks, come and get him. Come and take him.
Hell, I'd take Aaron Hicks, and I'd take his 180 batting average if he was hitting 7th for the Phillies.
Why? Because
had
of
an
his
on-base
glove that
percentage
he
of
flubbed
340.
2 in a row?
I'd take that too. I don't know if Ketel Marte would be someone that the D-backs would trade, but he's the guy for me if anybody needs a center fielder to go get, because he's a switch hitter, plays good defense, and he hits, and he's got, I think, 4 years of team control. I don't know if the D-backs would trade him. But there's really not anybody out there on the market.
Charlie Blackmon?
He's not a center fielder anymore.
No, he's not.
Terrible. He's terrible defensively.
Who's out in how about who does Boston have in center?
They got Verdugo.
Oh yeah, they're not going to do that. Where's Pilar? Pilar's with the Mets.
He's with the Mets. They're not like if Mickey Moniak gets hot, it's his job and it's going to be his job. He was the first overall pick in 2015 or whatever it was. Like he's still only 22 years old. He can definitely figure it out. But if he doesn't hit, like it's time to
black
call
hole in your lineup. You already have the pitcher spot because there's no DH, so you're hitting with 7 people.
Absolutely,
it's hard to win that way.
If he doesn't start hitting, it's time to call up Odubel Herrera. It's gonna ruffle feathers, but like Odubel Herrera is 230 and like sometimes dogging it to first base. Like that's gonna play when your center fielders are hitting under 100. So I hope it's Mickey Moniak, and I hope he figures it out. But yeah, they got to get that going if they're going to be anything, because Harper's on fire right now. JT's going to be JT. Like, you hit it on the head, Glenn. They're just a mediocre team. I thought they were going to be better. I got my hopes up.
They could still be better. I mean, they have talent.
Yeah, and the division as of right now is wide open. Like The Mets are in first place, but the Mets are the Mets.
The Mets also played 11 games, and that's not fair to say
The
they're
Mets are the
a
Mets.
first place team. Yeah,
The Braves are
Mets.
struggling.
The Mets are the Mets until they're not the Mets.
Yeah, so like the division is wide open right now. So
I'm gonna get that tattooed on me.
I think you should.
yeah. So they're 8-8, 3-7 in the last 10. Have a run differential of -4. What's the score of the game right now? What do you got?
It was 4-3.
Mike Ford's about to go deep.
It's 6-3 now, Phillies. So
Nope, didn't go deep.
Alec Boehm hit a
Jeez.
2-run homer. They're up 6-3. So
let's
Boehm
do
gets
some
going, they'll be fine.
let's do some miscellaneous baseball talk, shall we? Looking through the standings right now. Very early to look at the standings, but I'm doing it anyway because that's who I am. Cincinnati on top of the Central. Now they had some controversy with the Castellanos thing, getting thrown out, getting suspended, appealing the suspension, it getting upheld. Nobody's happy with that. He really didn't do anything wrong. He just yelled in the catcher's face. So you see a lot worse. You see a lot worse in the game that gets no punishment. So there's that. Seattle 11-7 on top of the West. Now, hold your horses because I think in 2019 they started 13-2 and they completely bottomed out. So that's for Seattle. Kansas City, another team people thought would be rebuilding. They're in first place right now in the AL Central. What do we think about these teams that are a little bit surprising in the first month of the season?
The same thing that you can think about the Yankees. The same thing you can think about, the Athletics. It's we're 20 games in, not even. So things can change, and you see the Athletics won 8 straight, and you see the Astros lost 7 straight. So things could change in a week.
Which one do you think though has the potential to stay around for the summer? Out of
Reds.
the teams I mentioned, so Seattle, Kansas City, Cincinnati. You can throw the Giants in there.
I think Kansas City. I think they're like kind of okay.
I'd go with the Reds.
There's a lot of buzz around the Royals. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's the Reds. They can hit.
The Reds have some momentum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say the fact that they
They don't have a
sets
bad
them
staff.
apart.
Sonny Gray comes back to go along with Luis Castillo.
That's it.
Not a bad one, too.
Any of those teams, you look at the pitching rotations, Cincinnati's got the best rotation. And plus, you take Scott's point saying that they're the best hitting team out of that entire bunch. I feel like they're head and shoulders above the Royals and the Mariners. We were talking about last episode, we were talking and ranting and raving about the Reds because they had a hot start.
Yeah, it's a division that's open. It's there's no. We said at the beginning of the year, there's really no horse in that division. Castellanos can rake. Votto's still Joey Votto. Mike Moustakas, Tyler Naquin's had a really good year to start out the year, and then young guys like Jonathan India are hitting the cover off the ball. Personally, I loved the Mariners. Coming into the season, just as a young upstart team, and they've looked great. They have fun. They just got Kyle Lewis back, rookie of the year, off the IL. So throw him into that lineup. They don't have any pitching, so that's an issue. But yeah, of those 3 teams that you brought up, Glenn, it's the Reds for all the reasons that we said.
Something I wanted to talk about. We didn't get a chance last week because we didn't do a show. So the last Sunday, not this past Sunday, last one, Phillies and Braves, Sunday Night Baseball. There's a play at the plate. Turns out Boehm never touched the plate. They go under review. They still call him safe. What are we doing? Like, how is that possible? Like, I don't understand how you have the technology to have replay. You have replay. You go under the hood to Manhattan to look at the replay, and it's clear as day that Boehm didn't touch home plate, and you still call him safe. Like, I don't understand the reasoning. I wish that, like how they do it in the NFL, like they go on the mic and they explain why the call was either upheld or reversed. Like, I wish instead of just going like this or like this to the crowd,
There's no excuse.
the umpire
for that,
the umpire would just say what we're all seeing, because it's on the big screen in Atlanta in the stadium, and all the fans see what the umpires are seeing. Like, I don't understand how it can be, how it's wrong.
So in this case, there's no excuse for that because it was the last play of the game. So Major League Baseball should have came out and said the umpires messed up. I
You all right?
Words.
Shocked.
I don't have anything good to say, so I'm not going to say it. I mean, it's really bad. It's really embarrassing to the game of baseball. And that's all I'm going to say.
I mean,
Would anyone like to elaborate on Cash's point?
How can it doesn't make any sense? Like, it was clear as day. You saw the catcher swipe pretty much over the bag, and you saw Bohm kind of tiptoe around the bag, and the angle was perfect. Usually you hear the broadcasters and they're like, oh, this angle's not too great. Maybe we'll get another angle from the truck, and you get another angle from the truck, and then you keep going. You're like, oh, that's the one. We had the one. You knew damn well he didn't touch home plate. Like, come on. What are we doing?
I mean, he was safe, but he was very much out.
You'll never admit it. But like
no,
the NBA,
no, I
they
will.
don't.
Like,
Doesn't the NBA they come out with what they call the 2-minute report? 2
Yeah.
minutes of every game. They have they write an essay about every call that was made, explaining it, whether it was right, whether it was wrong. Like, is baseball
Can't
just
do
winging
that.
their replay system?
You can't do that.
Angel Hernandez
Why
still
not?
has a job.
Why? Because you'll have home plate umpires get called. Their jobs will get called for every single week, and not necessarily because they're bad, but like it's so easy to call balls and strikes. On
No,
computer.
but like
No,
I agree with you. That's not fair to do balls or strikes, even though like my job at Pitchcast, we do send our clips to the Umpires Association and Major League Baseball to review and to judge the umpires. But like you can't fire an umpire because of a strike zone. I get that. But like these calls that are black and white calls, right? Like a ball in the outside corner to call a strike or a ball. That's not as black and white as, safe or out on a tag or on a force play.
So here's my understanding is that obviously there's not really a screen. Like they're talking with the guys in
yeah, because
headquarters.
New York is making the call.
Right.
not
So
them.
the guys on the field are not. Major League Baseball makes that call.
Yeah, but the
There's-
people in the office should have like 20/20 vision. They should be able to see what's safe and out.
But that's my point. It's not on the umpire. It's on Major League Baseball as a league. So they're not going to come out with a report and say like in NBA and the NFL, the referees on the court or the field make that call. But in this case, it's Major League Baseball. They're not going to call themselves out. I don't understand what they saw, and I'll never understand it. And the fact that they didn't make a statement about it, truly, to me, they're a clown show. And it's so sad because I love the sport of baseball, but that is one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life. There's not like Scott's the biggest Philly fan I know, and he's sitting here saying, yeah, there's no way he touched the plate. Come on. That's horrible. I mean,
Yeah. It was a bad call, but at this point, like there's nothing that anyone can do about it. And I think Glenn's right in the fact that there should be, at the time of the announcement of out or safe, the ump should be saying something to the crowd, like for an understanding. Because like even us at home, like we don't really know what's going on. Like we don't know the reasoning why.
why is it that Major League Baseball is the only sport that doesn't have a broadcaster in the replay room? Like that game was on national TV. So it's not like it was like Yes Network or the Phillies network. It was on a rules expert saying what?
Well, I don't really think I see what you're
Oh.
getting at, but you don't really need a rules expert to say that he didn't touch the plate or he's out or he's safe. And also,
There
the
has to
rules
be a
expert
reason why he's called
broadcaster
safe.
isn't going to dictate what's actually going to be called on the field.
But my point is there's no rhyme or reason to why
No,
he
there's
was called
not. I
safe.
agree 100%.
Until I'm given a rhyme or reason, I'm going to say it was rigged.
Well,
Bottom line, there's
no.
literally no other
That-
explanation.
That's far fetched. That's the
Why is that?
Major League Baseball is not fixing games. That's absurd. That is absurd.
God, he didn't even come close to touch the plate. He
That-
didn't
They're
come close
gonna-
to
they're
I know.
rigging it.
I understand that, but to say Major League Baseball is rigging games, that is absurd.
In April.
You have to show me otherwise because that's horrible.
They made a bad call,
I'm not trying.
but to say the league is
God, it
fixing,
wasn't a bad call. It was blatant. It was blatant.
I think they care way too much about what the original call was instead of just calling it.
That's yes, but that's
They
also
care way
they-
too much about, without a reasonable doubt, right? They care way too much about if it has to be absolutely conclusive. This was absolutely conclusive, but I think they care so much about they care about so much about not reversing it that they'd rather stay with what they'd originally been called than reverse it and do the right thing. Like we saw the NFL do this. Remember when they tried to make pass interferences challengeable, and it lasted 1 year because they would never, even if it was blatantly not or it was blatantly against the call on the field, they wouldn't overturn it because they were just afraid to. I think that's the case that MLB is doing.
But pass interference is a judgment call. This is not.
Yeah, it's not
and
a
I don't
perfect
mean just
comparison.
this.
That's just my opinion of what's happening.
There's no right. I understand that, but in baseball, there's no judgment calls. It's either out or safe. The strike zone's different, but it's either out or safe. And I don't. This reminded me of when A-Rod hit a home run in 2009, and they still called it a double when it was off the yellow staircases. You know what I'm talking about?
I think Judge hit a home run like that.
It was in the old stadium.
The only A-Rod call I remember is the camera one in the World Series.
There was a home run call like the first year of home run replays, and it hit the yellow staircase in Yankee Stadium, and they said it went off the wall, and they reviewed it.
Yeah, I remember
they got it wrong.
Yeah, okay,
and they got it wrong, and that was the first year. I get it, whatever. We're at the point where every single league has every single camera angle of every single team and every single stadium.
But now that we're on the conversation and I'm thinking about it, replay is a controversial thing with every single sport. Every single sport's replay seems to not work. The NFL, like the Saints, have lost 2 straight seasons on calls that got under the hood and not in their favor. Like the NBA, we complain about it all the time. But baseball is just, it feels like it's the easiest, right? Because there's a lot more to look at under the hood for football and basketball and even hockey.
A lot of it's judgment,
than baseball. Because baseball, it's safer out. Did the foot get there first or the ball get there first? Did the foot even touch the base? Like it can't be as difficult as they make it seem.
Like in the NBA, it's a lot of judgment on whether or not it was a foul or whether or not somebody was flopping or whether or not, this or that. And the same in the NFL. And you know what? Same in the NHL. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go either way. And no, I'm sure Major League Baseball is not fixing games in April. Okay.
Or ever.
No, they're not fixing games. However, the fact that there was no explanation from the commissioner's office.
You're right. You're right.
There should be an explanation. Problem. And I would be over this.
They make press releases all the time. They should have made a press release here.
It's been 2 weeks. I would be over it and I would never talk about it again if Major League Baseball came out and said, "Hey guys, we messed up. I'm sorry. Mistakes happen. We screwed it up." But they didn't. They just nothing. It went radio silent. Not good, Bob. Not a good look.
Not a good look at all.
They didn't say anything about the Conforto hit by pitch either. So
and that was back to back. We didn't even talk. That was back to back days.
Oh, we talked about that. I don't think you were here though.
Yeah, you weren't here for that. Yeah, but like that just seems to be the way that things are.
But again, that could be considered a judgment call. Now, it was pretty obvious that he stuck his elbow out. But that's not as blatant as there should have been an apology. That's all.
It's much harder to prove the content on the Conforto lean in than a clear not touching home plate on a play at the plate.
Right.
In my opinion. Let's round this thing out with some good news, some good baseball stuff. 2 no-hitters already this year. There's been opportunities for more. Rodon in Chicago and obviously Joe Musgrove in San Diego. Rodon's was almost perfect game, but with 1 out in the 9th, he hit a guy. So that sucked. Musgrove's was really cool because, San Diego never had in their franchise a no-hitter, and the guy that did it is a San Diego kid. So that's awesome. With, the no-hitters happening, obviously in San Diego and Chicago, it hasn't been a lot of offense around Major League Baseball. So really quickly, thoughts on the no-hitters and then thoughts on, the minor league kind of experiment moving the mound back.
I'm going to start. Thank you. I don't like it. I don't think
you don't like the no-hitters. You don't like the mound going back.
Sorry, the no-hitters are really
hitters.
cool.
Cash hates no-hitters.
No, the no-hitters are really cool, and it was awesome to see Musgrove toss one. That was really cool, and it was heartwarming, and made me shed a tear. But the minor league thing in the Atlantic League pushing the mounds back a foot. That's really messed up, man. And all it's going to do is cause more arm injuries because I'm 24 years old. No, I'm not.
Your arm is shot.
I'm 23 years old. My arm is shot from 60 feet, 6 inches. And I trained that way my entire life. I trained for 60 feet, 6 inches my entire life. Now you're going to have an 18-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid, a 20-year-old kid come up and say, all right, we're going to do 61 feet, 6 inches. And you know what he's going to try and do? He's not going to just throw the same way he's been throwing. He's going to throw harder because he wants the radar gun to say 100. That's the goal.
You're going to probably have to extend your arm more in an off-speed pitch because it's going to break and it's going to hit, the grass before it even gets to where you want.
It's an incredible adjustment. And it's not right. It's not right to pitchers. It's I don't know how else I could put it. I don't know if I'm if I'm an outcast here, which I usually am.
I think you're in the majority. I think the majority of people don't.
I think you're right on with this one.
Yeah. Oh wow, thanks guys.
I think
you're normally not, so I give you a lot of credit.
Thank you. And I'm gonna put this on Theo Epstein. I know what he's trying to do, and I commend him for trying to maybe make the game a little better. I feel like this is not the way to go, and I feel like maybe they shouldn't have not juiced baseballs. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I think they should have kept the baseballs juiced. If you guys want home runs so much, keep the baseballs juiced. And I don't mean you guys. I mean you guys meaning Major League Baseball. I don't know. I think that this is not the way to go, and it's not right. And the strikeout numbers aren't going to go down because batters just have a different approach at the plate. It's either home run or bust for Major League Baseball hitters, and they're not thinking about batting average. They're not thinking about anything else other than their slugging percentage and their exit velocity. So swing and a miss, baseball. Swing and a miss.
I think one of the unsung detrimental pieces to this entire 61 feet 6 inches kind of thing is, say that does work out in the minor leagues, which I fully do not expect it to. I think it's going to be a colossal failure. Everybody looks at a foot when you already have 60.5 feet from pitcher's mound to home plate. Everyone's like, oh, adding just another foot's not a big deal. It's a massive deal. I don't know if people are necessarily going to throw harder because the ball gets to the catcher regardless, and it would get to the backstop with most of these guys.
They said a 93 mile an hour fastball would turn into a 91 mile an hour fastball.
So that's my point. Is that, and I'm sorry, Ty, but the goal is, and like you and me know this, you and I know this. When we use the radar gun, you want the notches to go up. You want to see 100 miles an hour. But that's going to go from 100 mile an hour to 98 mile an hour. And that's fine. But if you're trying to get to 100 miles an hour, it's only a matter of time until you blow your arm out because it's
fine.
Impossible.
That's all good and well, but it's all relative also. Like if you're going from 100 to 98, the guy that's at 98 is not also still at 98. He's throwing 96 now. So like,
no, I realize that, but on a personal level, your goal is to throw triple digits.
For some people, I guess. But like, all right, let me get back to my original.
I would assume the majority of people who can throw 100 look at the radar gun after every fastball to see if they got there.
I looked at the radar
or if
gun
they put it in the right
spot.
spot. If they're a major league pitcher. Okay, let me get back to my other point. One of the biggest things that would be a real shame for a lot of places around the league and around the country, around the world, especially in less privileged areas where it's a problem where we have to now grow the game even more, and it's harder to get in there and get participation and attendance. You move it back from 60 feet 6 inches to 61 feet 6 inches. Now you are forcing every single 60-90 regulation baseball field in the world basically to now go dig up their rubber and do a completely new mound reconstruction to come up with this.
Is that going to cost $1 million? I don't think it's going to cost that much money.
It's going to cost a lot.
It's not that.
To do it properly.
You think.
That's the other side of it. If you don't do it properly and you don't restructure the slope the right way to account for that extra foot back, now people are going to get hurt. The previous landing spots are going to be a little bit further. You're going to be landing now on a down slope if you don't fix it properly. We know how these leagues take care of their fields. I pitch on more bad mounds than I pitch on good mounds on Sunday mornings. This could only possibly make it worse. And I'm not worried about myself, 24 years old, playing baseball on Sunday mornings. I'm worried about the kids who still have a shot to play in the big leagues. And especially in the underprivileged areas where baseball needs to be a thing, and in Latin American countries where baseball is huge, it's a big adjustment, and it costs money. So,
And why don't we just have the guys hit off tees? Maybe that'll be
Yeah.
more exciting.
Dumb
it's
rule.
crazy.
Hope it fails. But back to the no hitters. Two great stories so far this year. Musgrove we touched upon, but then Rodon as well. Like, guy was a top 3 pick in Major League draft. Came
Blew
up,
out his shoulder, right?
had some success, had shoulder problems, blew out his elbow, had Tommy John. He got DFA'd this past offseason. The White Sox said, we don't really know if we want you anymore. He decided to re-sign with them anyway. And was a back foot slider away from a perfect game.
That's a horrible way to lose it.
Yeah, it's a tough way to lose it, but it was a good pitch and it was the right pitch. It just didn't back foot enough. And, unfortunately, he got hit. I guess something good happened for the Yankees.
Yeah,
but
Mike, I can't watch it here.
They've bases loaded, nobody out in the 8th inning. Tie game.
I didn't
So
interrupt
good-
Scott.
good
I
for
just kinda
Rodon.
pumped my fist.
I interrupted. Sorry,
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
But good for Rodon. Good story. And he looks good. He's throwing harder. He looks like a better pitcher right now. So hopefully keep that up. And he's going to be a factor for the White Sox if he's healthy all year.
Yeah, I thought wildly entertaining games. Edge of my seat kind of stuff. I was lucky enough to get home for both of them in time to watch it on MLB TV. Those are always fun. No hitters are always great. You always root for them. Musgrove I thought was awesome because obviously the Padres, very big storyline as a team over the offseason into the year. Never had one in their franchise. And then I love it when like the hometown kid is the hero. I don't know if you saw his high school. They made a nice mural for him. They painted. Did you guys see this? That was cool. You didn't, Scott?
I did not see that.
Look it up. High school, in like matter of hours after the perfect game, they just went out and they painted his mural on the high school. So that's always some good stuff. Before we go, just skimming the standings, seeing if anything important I missed. The Red Sox,
Hot.
not bad. Not bad. Are they not bad, or is this another it's early situation?
I think they're hot. I don't know if they
They're
can
hot.
sustain. Be
'Cause
good for
they had
baseball.
that 9-game win streak, and then they went every other game, and then they completely destroyed Giolito on yesterday. So JD Martinez he figured it out in a contract year, I think, right, Scott? Contract year?
He might have an opt out or something, but yeah, I mean,
I
he's
think-
kind of looked lost the last couple of years.
Yeah, he said that in 2020, because of the restrictions, you couldn't get as much video and tape of your at-bats that you used to under normal circumstances. And this year that's back. And that's why he's able to, be as successful as he is. So good for the Red Sox, I guess. I mean, 11-6 plus 28 run differential. Let's see. I'm not any more miscellaneous baseball talk. We talked about
You-
the White Sox. That kid Mercedes. Oh my God.
Still going
Out of nowhere. Was
Not
he a
so much
top
a kid,
prospect,
though.
or is he just some kid that came out of nowhere?
out of nowhere
Out of nowhere?
because he's older. He's like 28 at this
Yeah.
point already. Do you guys want to do winners and losers? Do you have
We can do winners and losers.
I got mine. So
Good. Then you can start it off.
all right, I'll start. So my loser I already mentioned. It's the Phillies center fielders. You can't be hitting 061 and be big leaguers. My winner of the week though is Sean Kazmar of
Okay.
the Atlanta Braves.
Absolutely.
12-year hiatus from the big leagues. Had a cup of coffee in 08 with the Padres. 36 years old and got called up by the Braves the other day. He said he stuck around in the minor leagues because he wanted his kids to be able to see him play in the majors. They got that chance. I don't know how long he's going to stick around, but sounds like he's a really well-liked guy across the game. So good for him making it back to the big leagues for the Braves.
All right. My winner could be Clint Frazier in a minute because he's pinch hitting with the bases loaded, pinch hitting for Gardner. So we're going to see what happens here. So I'm going to try to do my winners and losers simultaneously. My winner is Ronald Acuna because he's absolutely phenomenal. Like, he's killing the baseball. Like, I've never seen anything really like it to start a season. Maybe the 07 A-Rod when A-Rod was just on fire and to begin 07. That's kind of what Acuna reminds me of right now. Absolute stud, one of the top 3 players in the game, along with Trout and with at-bats. I think if we're putting in tiers, I think the tier 1 is Trout, Betts, Acuna. Maybe you put in Bellinger as well if Bellinger's at the top of his game, and Harper, obviously. My loser is the Colorado Rockies in a 7-inning game. I know you're facing Jacob deGrom. There's a pass ball, Yankees lead. Okay, good. I know you're facing Jacob deGrom in a 7-inning game, but to have 14 strikeouts out of the 17 batters that your game allows, that's horrible.
18.
At Coors Field.
21.
I know it was cold. I know it was deGrom.
21.
It was 21?
21 batters in 7 innings.
Oh, wait. Okay, so DeGrom had 14. Diaz threw in another 3, so it was 17. Thank you for correcting me. 17 strikeouts in 21 at-bats.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's horrible. Colorado, we talked about it in our little preview shows in the offseason, is just tanking it like you wouldn't believe. 4-12. The only team that's worse than them right now is the Yankees. But yeah. You can't strike out 17 out of 21 times. I don't care if you're facing DeGrom and then Rivera. Like that's unacceptable to me. And it really speaks to the problem that the game is having with these strikeouts. But I digress. Tyler, you're up.
My winner is going to be Francisco Lindor because despite being a 189 hitter right now at this point in the year, he is having so much fun, and that is exactly what the goal was, I guess, for the Mets. And we mentioned it before. Somebody did. I think it was Scott or Glenn. Glenn, maybe the Mets are having a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
It's true, they are. My loser, although the move just worked out, but because it's hot, the Yankees are playing currently as we're recording. I'm going to give it to Aaron Boone. Can somebody explain this move to me, please? There's a righty on the mound. You have your starter up. You chose him to face Morton, who's a righty. You put him in the 3-hole as a lefty for that matchup. Now you go in favor of the guy that you benched for a slow start, righty on righty matchup with the bases loaded. It doesn't make sense to me. So Aaron Boone, what
if Frazier goes deep right now, then he's not a loser. Boone, he made the right decision. We'll see what happens.
But we say that they're so analytically driven, this, that, and the other thing. But like, what kind of move is that? Realistically, if you have enough faith to put Clint Frazier up there in the bottom half of the 8th,
and we just talked about an hour ago how bad Frazier's been and how his confidence.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand it, but
I mean, you put him in right there. That's a position to succeed. Bases loaded, nobody out. That's a position that you'd like to be in to break out of a slump. It's better than nobody on 2 outs against like this absolute dominant, 99-mile-an-hour reliever. Like Boone put Frazier in a position to succeed. This is kind of my argument with Boone that we're going to circle back to this now. Like the players at some point need to succeed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the manager is, but I understand what you're saying. Who was your winner? Lindor? Yeah, I agree with Lindor. Like he's changed the whole vibe. Like we talk about culture a lot when it comes to the Mets and how they don't have a good one. He's changing that vibe. Like you saw when McCann threw out Story to end the game on Sunday, Lindor jumping up and down, pumping his fist. That's something we haven't really seen from the Mets a lot. He hasn't statistically done well. And like you said that, the whole point of Lindor was to change the vibe of the Mets. They brought him in so he can perform. That's the first thing. But eventually he will perform to what Francisco Lindor is more accustomed to. And then, he's going to be there for the next decade and a half. So good for the Mets, I guess. All right, Cash, you got winner and loser?
Yeah. My winner of the week is Braves manager Brian Snitker. They started 0-4 and they turned it around. They got hot. And now they're playing good baseball, obviously with the help of Acuna, who Glenn mentioned is one of the best players in baseball far and away. My loser of the week is without a doubt Gleyber Torres. The guy was an all-star second baseman, and obviously proved himself enough to the Yankees organization to move him to shortstop, and has not only underperformed defensively but offensively. He's not hitting well. Now, nobody on the Yankees is hitting well, but Gleyber Torres needs to figure it out, or he needs to be put back at second base. But there are throws that I don't care if you're a righty, a lefty, 11 years old, or 37 years old. There are throws that you need to make. Yes, the glove
would need. The glove has been fine. It's his arm, which isn't a problem. It's not supposed to be. He has a good arm. So maybe it's mental. Or it must be mental. Listen, I don't know. I'm not. Whatever. We've harped on the Yankees, and I'm sick of it. However, that's my loser of the week.
All right. I'm a big labor guy. You guys know that, but I agree. He's hitting under 200 and he's making errors, and that's not good. But I will say, in his defense, he doesn't deserve defense. He's been bad, but I will say, Tatis has made 7 errors this year, and he's hitting under 200 as well. But it is what it is. But yeah, Kleber needs to be better. He wasn't able to get a run errand just now. Runner on third, less than 2 outs, popped out to shallow center, didn't get him in. So that needs to improve.
Can I just add one quick thing before we sign
Yankees
off?
are leading, so that's good. Go ahead.
I'll piggyback off what
Go
you
ahead.
said. Yankees are leading. That's good. But it's not all good, because if the only run that we score with bases loaded, nobody out, is given to us on
I
a
agree.
wild
Yeah,
pitch,
100%.
well, I'm not even happy right now. Like, Mike Ford could go deep, and it's just like, oh, great. The guy that just got here today hits the grand slam. Fine, great. But he's not going to be the guy to sustain it. And the 2 guys before should be the 2 guys. But whatever.
This is such a classic Yankee game where Chapman blows it. This is just a classic Chapman blown save. I'm saying. I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but it just seems like that kind of vibe. Ball 4. All right, we're fine. We're good.
Nice
Scott,
games.
what Phillies update?
6-4. Buster Posey's hit 2 home runs tonight for the Giants.
This guy, ageless wonder he is.
Ageless wonder.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
I was working a Marlins, and we're going on a tangent. That's fine though. I was doing a Marlins Giants game, and the Marlins broadcast was talking about Posey, comparing him to Yadi Molina, and if they're Hall of Famers. I definitely think
Yadi's 100%.
100%. I'm not sure he'll get 100%, but like 100% he'll eventually get in.
Yes.
And then I started like looking at what they were saying about Posey and the graphics they were putting up, and I never really realized, because they're all out west and they haven't won since 2014, which is 7 years now. So you kind of forget. Posey's great. And the fact that he's still going at the catching position, they didn't need to move him to first or DH whenever the Giants get the DH in the National League.
They did for a little bit, right?
I think
after the leg.
I think for sure he's a
He's
Hall of
played
Famer.
some first base. Yeah, his start to his career.
Yeah, but he's still a catcher though.
Yeah, the start to his career was phenomenal. Rookie of the Year, MVP, multiple World Series, All-Star games, Silver Sluggers, Gold Gloves. Like, he's got the hardware. The rings help. Yeah, I mean, batting average he's a 300 career hitter at this point. We're 12
How many career hits does he have? Is he at 2,000?
He's got 1389.
Really? That's it?
270 career doubles though, so he's got
Oh,
more
that's
than
more
Gene
than
Segura.
Segura.
So
Well,
definitely
if Segura
a
is
Hall of
in
Famer.
now because he has 200, then
Yeah.
obviously like Posey's a shoo-in.
Gene Segura's first ballot 100% with 200 career doubles.
I think you retire his number if you're the Phillies at this point.
Probably. That means Buster Posey's getting in with 1,000,000% vote.
Yeah.
So
I don't even think they have a vote. I think the day he retires, they just put him in.
just put him in right away. Yeah, I do. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I hate him. He's annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Yachty
Yachty was annoying to you too, right? He had 2 home runs. Was that
Yeah.
against you or yeah?
Yachty was a pest that series. So
Sucks. But he'll never be as much of a pest to you than he is to the Mets fans in that 06 home run. Sanchez got under it. All right, this sounds like a good time for me to shut this thing down.
yeah, wrap it up.
Unless you guys have anything else.
Nope.
All good over
All
here.
right, for this episode of Base Hit Ball 4, for Alex Cashman, Scott Roswell, Tyler Blumenstick, my name is Glenn Denagers, and we'll see you next week.